Good day, podcast community. Pete Kane here, Podcast Pete and certified high performance coach. We got a special guest on our show. I was hesitant to bring him on because he's a Clemson Tiger. Being a Hokie, we don't always see eye to eye. But now they're closer to our loss record than we ever have been. So, welcome to the bottom of the conference. All right,
Thank
our
you.
guest,
Hey,
David, introduce who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into the podcast.
sure. My name's David Stewart. I work in corporate IT, Windows world, and I serve pretty much anywhere I can find.
I love it. So we met about a month or two ago through a program at Kennesaw Mountain High School that's facilitated by John Maxwell and your church, North Metro. What made you get involved with high schoolers?
Um, just at a time in my life where I'm kind of saying yes to everything. So they brought it up at men's Bible study, and they said, "Hey, we got some openings. We meet today. Anyone who wants to come, show up." So I did.
And you talk about an answer to prayer. I was praying like that week. I needed some help, and you come through the door. So that was beautiful. So let's go back like a few years. Like, how long have you lived in the city? And how experienced are you in the city? Like, we have a lot of people that move from out of town. Give our viewers an idea. Are you like a hardcore Atlanta native, or have you only been here a little bit?
So I spent a few years in Macon, and then I moved back to Ohio, where I'm from, the Akron area, and I was back there for 17, 18 years, and then I moved in 2013, and I was in Mableton, then I was in Powder Springs, and then I was in Ackworth, almost Kennesaw, and I moved then 3 miles. So I've been in the same house for 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
in this specific area for 8 years.
That is awesome. What do you think has changed in the 8 years in Atlanta? Have you noticed anything that has changed in just your time here?
Yeah, the amount of construction and housing, it's crazy. It's really crazy. Just I can't imagine that there was that big of a need just a few years ago when they were saying there wasn't enough housing, and now it seems that any spot that was green is now either dirt or a house. So I think that's really just been booming.
Mm. Yeah, I totally agree. So when you were making decisions like where you were going to go to school, was it that Virginia Tech turned you down and you went to Clemson, or was there another path to Clemson?
Well, I was in Akron, Ohio, and I applied to 3 colleges because I thought I would get to play college baseball, and that did not happen. And
Mhm.
then I applied to the University of Akron because if I didn't get accepted anywhere else, I still had to go to college. And my brother lived just outside of Clemson and said if I don't think he was serious, but I took him seriously that if I went to Clemson, I could live with him. And that was
Hmm.
what I did.
Oh, that's awesome. So, were you there during the Danny Ford era, or was it before? Like, when were you there at Clemson?
That's funny you mentioned that. I was actually at the sit-in on the president's lawn the night they fired Danny Ford, and I was photographed and put on the front page of the Greenville paper, uh, being a teenager.
Oh, I met Danny Ford one time, and my niece married. She went to Clemson, and her husband now married a Clemson person. And at the time, I was doing social media, and he asked me to come speak at their convenience store convention. I was speaking on social media. I was the headliner. Danny Ford was behind me, so I had the unique because he was a legend in, of course, that
Yeah.
area. So he was coming as a football person and all, and so I got a chance to be on the same platform as Danny Ford, so that was kind of cool. So, after Danny, Dabo came in and he started winning, and now it's kind of cycled. He's kind of on the lower part of the ACC. Like, how do you handle the swings in the football at Clemson?
You know, Dabo's an interesting guy. He has a plan and he's sticking to it. I've watched a few podcasts and heard him explain why he's doing things the way he
Hmm.
is, and maybe he's not adjusting fast enough. But um, I could never be a college coach, so I would not have it in me to recruit and pour all that time in and be raising 93 teenage guys into men. I don't think I could do that. So I don't really think I have a place to criticize him.
Hmm. Yeah, it's changing fast. The whole college landscape is like the wild, wild west. It's definitely chaotic out there. But let's go back to how you decided the path that you're on. Were you like always interested in networks and computers and IT before you went to Clemson, or was that something you discovered at Clemson?
No, I wanted to go into computers from much earlier. So as soon as I could get my hands on one, and in high school, that was right at the tail end of Apple giving computers to schools so they could raise the generation on Macs. So that's really when I started, and great marketing idea. Raise the next generation only using your stuff. So and then into school, it was taking computer classes, and then after that, it was finding jobs where my computer abilities kind of gave me more responsibilities at each job. As so this is my role, but I'll work on your computers too. And eventually I found a computer job, and so
Hmm. So what we talked. It was like a couple days week ago, and we were talking about your Smucker's experience. And I was in food service, so I was real familiar with all the food service companies and all the companies that service. But you mentioned something I thought was really unique and different. And that's the amount of interviews you had with them when you were pursuing them. Would you share that with our community? Because I think it really has a lot of lessons that are valuable in
yeah.
today and forever.
Yeah, so I just interviewed to be a help desk person and with Capgemini, and I didn't even know I was going to Smuckers. I should have. The address is 1 Strawberry Lane. I should have picked up on that. But growing up in Ohio, I didn't even realize that Smuckers was an hour away. I mean, I lived on their jelly, but I didn't know
Mhm.
that. So I got there, and my dad had kind of told me that this is who it was. This is where you're going. And I went in and I interviewed, but then it was I went in and I went around the corner to the right and I went in the first office, and that was the guy I was there to interview with. And then they just took me to the next office, put me in it, and I talked to the manager. And I interviewed with, it was either 11 or 15 different managers. And that was the worst interview I've ever had. It was just, I met everyone. And it was
Mm.
years later when they explained, I did not know, but the whole thing was you only ever have one technical interview, and that's by your immediate manager to see if technically you can do the job. And then it was all about your personality and the type of person you were, is everyone else wanted to see if you fit into the company. And if you didn't fit into the company, it didn't matter what you could do technically.
Mm.
And just the same, even if you couldn't do that job technically, if you fit into the company, they would find you a spot. So it
Mm.
was really interesting that, probably 98% of the people I dealt with at Smuckers, I never had an issue with. It
Mm.
just, things worked. They worked very well.
I love that story. This was probably 10, 15 years ago, and I was in Dallas at a seminar, and the topic was life would be easy if it weren't for people. And she was a comedian, and it was hilarious. And because people are funny, but if you can't get along with people, it doesn't matter what you know.
Oh.
You ain't gonna get anywhere. So what do you think? How did you learn the skill of getting along with people? Was that growing up? Or just give us a little bit of a background that might help us understand that skill.
I've always said that, drama, life has a lot of drama, whether you create it or not. But then there's people that create drama and don't know how to live without it. So trying to not cause drama, trying to not dwell in drama, and life just seems to be easier the less drama you have. I mean, there's going to be things, the economy, politics, uh, illnesses. You can't really help so much of that. That everything else, every place you can remove drama is a good thing. And being a father and trying to teach this to my children, and that sometimes you need to eliminate people out of your life that can't help but wallow in drama. It just,
Mm.
they make it hard. And it's,
Yeah.
I've had that repeated to me from my daughters a couple times, that yeah, I had to like stop hanging around them because they create drama. Okay, I
Mm.
get it.
Hmm. What do you think? Like, I have two girls and six granddaughters. So I've been around girls, two sisters. And you, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago, you met your current wife, Sarah,
Yeah.
who had five daughters. So what was it like stepping into, I think daughters are drama. I mean, they just more than guys. And I can't tell you exactly, but I hear that from the other side because I had brothers and I had sisters, and it just seems like there's a little bit more drama with girls. Maybe it's emotional drama. What was it
Yes.
like to bring on six teenagers into your life?
Uh,
What was that first year like?
so it's just five. It's just five daughters.
Five, five.
And it's been 8.5 years. And I prayed for a long time to meet the right woman. And
Mhm.
I wanted to be a dad. For some reason, I wanted a daughter. So, lesson to everyone: be very specific when you pray. God listens, and He has a sense of humor. Um, so I
Uh,
did end up with five daughters, and I wouldn't change anything in my life. And I get real emotional when I talk about some of this stuff, but it was a shock. But I grew up in a big family. I'm the youngest of six. I have one sister. Um, so it was not that big of a change. I mean, I don't think I lived alone until I was 40. So,
mhm.
and then, for a few years it was me and my two dogs. I think they had probably the biggest change of anyone. Is my dogs went from just me to little girls wanting them in their bed every night, where I was like, okay, but give me room. And they're like, no, let me lay on top of you. So I think it went, I don't think it was hard. I think that I was really well prepared, and especially being mid 40s rather than mid 20s, and
Mhm.
wanting to be a dad and having grown up in a big family, and all the other things through church and volunteering that I had been doing. It just worked well. Now I'm sure that the girls might not see things the same. They
Yeah.
they wanted someone involved in their life, and boy did they get it. So um, I don't take it lightly. I try very hard, but sometimes that doesn't equal what they want.
Mm. Yeah.
There's
All right.
a comic that used to say, mama gives you what you want and daddy gives you what you need. and
Yeah.
I think that there's a big difference between how Sarah relates with them and how I relate with them. And I'm doing the best I can. I'm sure a lot of the time they don't see that, but I'm trying hard.
Yeah. 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 I think daughters are special. And I think today, because we were over at Kennesaw Mountain and, half the class is girls, half are guys. And, you see the difference in how they engage, how they talk, how they just go about their learning. What do you think from, being that close to raising daughters and seeing the conversations, what do you think is like more difficult today than it might have been 30 years ago?
Just the speed at things happen, and that everything is right at your fingertips, and uh, everything is disposable.
Mhm.
Growing up, we got groceries once a week, and we weren't allowed to have uh, Coca-Cola. We weren't allowed to have soft drinks. We weren't, and we got Saturdays to have potato chips. That was it, because the big family, you just didn't try to afford things. And now they eat mostly junk, and I battle. I don't think that's right. So that's a big battle, and I need to shush and go back to my corner and be quiet. But and then the social anxiety that comes from social media, and the constant connection, and your friends are doing something, and when I was growing up, I would have never known it. I probably wouldn't have heard about it for a couple of weeks, and by then who would care? But now it's all my friends are together, and they didn't invite me, and they're not
Mhm.
talking to me, and it's terrible. And if you, God forbid, get a boyfriend, everyone knows everything. it's it's
Mhm.
uh it's hard. There is no anonymity in being a, a child.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have, from observing and watching and asking and having a lot of podcasts, I'm always curious to the difference from when my daughters are 38 and 34. So they've beyond that younger age. So they're not, in that, what you said, that social connection game, which I'm not a fan. I grew up, I didn't grow up, but when I got into social media, my daughter said, "Hey dad, you like podcasting, you ought to try this Facebook." And I said, "Nah, that's for college kids. That's not for dads." And
Yeah.
when I finally kind of did it and jumped in, all my nieces and nephews came up, all my friends. It's like an instant connection. But what I found, because I don't do social media anymore for the last almost 4 years, is I'm healthier mentally than I ever
Yes.
was, because I think it's that I heard somebody explain it like you got to like, comment, or share. So you're always making judgments on stuff. So you're always
Yeah.
programming your brain to, do I like this thing? Do I comment on it? Do I share it? So you're mentally exhausting yourself. And the average is
Yes.
almost 2 hours of consuming. So we think we're born to create, but we're consuming so much that I don't think we realize what it's doing to us mentally and physically. So what do you do? Like, how do you handle the distractions of today, which are like full court press on us?
Uh, I try to really limit my social media, and to build off what you said, it's not just consuming, it's judging. It's do we like it? Do we not? Do we like it a lot? And then that's what we do 6 hours a day when we face to face interview with talk to someone. We don't know how to swipe, click. We can't do that. So you see a hard time relating face to face, and the the eye rolls, which I'm really not a fan of. They can't stay concentrated or connected for more than a few minutes, and it's because they're being programmed to 3-minute video, like it or throw it away, and they want to do that with conversations and with people, and it that just builds more social anxiety, because how do you have a conversation? Or and then you talk to them, oh, you have a friend, or oh, you like this person, and well, what do they want to do? Well, I don't know. Well, what do they like? Well, I don't know. Oh, they play a sport. What position? I don't know. I mean, how do you spend time? And it's all Snapchat. It's a picture of shoes on the floor. I mean, it's meaningless connection, and it's scary. It's especially to have children, boy or girl, and to talk about the drama. I think young boy drama is violent. Young girl drama is emotional. So I never got the emotional part. I just got the violent brothers when I was growing up.
Yeah, to your point, last year they were freshmen at Kennesaw Mountain, and the program was about relationships, building relationships. So I asked the question, like, give me an idea how many people you know by their first name in this class. And the majority was one or two. And this was the end of the first year. So you're in a class with somebody for a school year, and you only know one or two people's first name. So to that point I had them turn to each other and introduce and say, hey, what do you like that's exciting when you're not going to school? Just ask a question, being curious. And even my banker, when we were talking, her son's a junior at a high school. He didn't know one person by first name in his class. So we have all this social, but I think it's really just media. There's nothing social that you're getting
Right.
online unless you have a meaningful conversation with somebody and you ask them questions. Like, we have had a lot of meaningful conversations because,
Yes.
one, we're a little older and we value the connection. But I don't think it's a skill that we're working on as a
No.
young person, because social media keeps us away from that part of really connection. What would you say, like, when you look at the world changing, AI, all this technology, a rapid change, and you and I have life experiences. We have lessons that we've learned. How What would you say to the next generation if they said, David, what would I need to know in the next couple of years to be able to better manage this rapid change that's coming?
Uh, yeah, making adult decisions. How to uh, prioritize, and what really matters. You have these conversations that really give no meaning to anything. I've long said that I'm an adult and I make my own decisions. Now, if someone lies to me, I make decisions on bad information, and that's on me. I still made the decision. Well, you don't see that much today. You don't see people saying, well, I made a mistake. It's you. It's your fault. There's accountability and responsibility that I think are just, because we're behind a camera, because we're not face to face, because we're not interacting near each other, it's easy to click and turn off the camera. It's easy to shut the lid of the laptop. There's no accountability for what you say or how you say it. And then on the other end of that, you get people that are incredibly sensitive about anything that's said that's not what they want to hear. So it's getting to be a very hard world to be outspoken. And
Mhm.
be able to express how you feel without getting ridiculed or persecuted. So it's, moving forward for the kids, technology, I think, has been used in very much the wrong way. It's been
Mhm.
skewed towards entertainment, right, rather than advancement. I'd love to see a four-cylinder car be able to do 400 miles an hour. Why can't we do that rather than try to make an eight-cylinder car get 30 miles to the gallon? We don't need eight-cylinder cars. We need more fuel economy. We need better battery life. We need medical. We need cures and medicines, and that doesn't seem to be where technology is going.
Mhm.
I think I
Um,
completely skipped your question.
no, no. I mean, it's not an easy one to answer because nobody knows the future. And but I want to go. I've been involved in men's group for 30, 40 years, 30 at least 35, and it's been so beneficial to be in men's groups where you're getting together with guys, you build those relationships. I know the model that at North Metro where you're in a group and then you break into smaller groups. Share with our community how has that been beneficial to you, and maybe give a little bit of how it's structured so people can just see the value of connections and getting with people.
Yeah. So I am very into my faith, and I go to North Metro Church. I'm very active there at the church, and they do a lot for every different group. I volunteer in childcare with the little ones during service, and um, my daughters, two of my daughters, still go to junior high and high school. It's the same thing on Sunday nights, and then there's men's group. So they have a men's group on Wednesday mornings that I think currently there are 93 men, which is unbelievable. And the first day I went, someone came, said that that was the first time they'd been in church, and
Mm,
any exposure that they had had to anything faith based had been negative. And
mhm,
he said he walked in and he got hugs. He got people just saying, "Yeah, come sit with us, come on," and just inclusion and acceptance. And he said he really didn't know what to make of it,
mm,
and he's been there every week, and he says he's not stopping. But it is you get to sit down and talk, and you open up, you be a little vulnerable, and you see that you're not the only one, and that we're all going through pretty much the same stuff, and
mhm,
in dealing with life and how the world is today, and children, and our marriages, and just how to do everything. And then it's great to be able to say, hey, my daughter's car needs some work. I need a reputable good guy to work on her car. And immediately I get three people giving me the same name immediately. And then to have him reach out saying, I got you, brother, come see me. And not that he's going to take care of things for free, but everyone spoke highly of him, and
mm,
he fixed the car right away. And it's just like it's just simple things of being able to connect and help each other, and not have to go it alone.
mm. Yeah, that I think not going it alone. There's even a thing we talk in the entrepreneurial world, like there's no such thing as a solo entrepreneur. It's a team effort. And together we're better, but we sometimes isolate. And when we isolate, there's nothing good that comes from isolation. So, what would you say, like, when you look at the IT world? I want to pivot back just for a second. Like, what's going on in there's so much disruption now, like with how programming's working, how IT's working, how just generally there's a little bit of fear out there that AI is going to replace people, which I think is totally misinterpreted because I believe in HI, human intelligence, with a tool like AI. But do you feel more positive that we're getting into an era of, change that can be positive, or do you are you hearing more of the negative side of what it can do as it disrupts everything?
I think that goes to who has it. Just like anything else, uh, AI is incredibly powerful and it's created by man. So you got the HI behind the AI. Um, but there's an awful lot, especially in corporate IT, that is analyzing logs, looking for errors. Well, it's time consuming and it's monotonous. And in automating some of that has always been a way to do it.
Hmm.
But in the same respect, those with bad intentions can use AI.
Hmm.
So if you want, I can generate 1 million emails a minute and have them sent to you. It doesn't take much effort.
Hmm.
So if I want to spam you, oh boy, can I do it. If I want to write a program to go sign you up for 3,000 subscriptions to something, I can do it. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort. But, back to, are we taking technology and creating entertainment? Or are we taking technology and building on the technology? What's it going to be used for? So, and where that's going to go is a lot of lower level jobs are going to suffer
Hmm.
because they're they are a little bit on the monotonous side. They're a little bit on the repetitive side. So what you're going to do is take away that entry level where people learn, and that's just not going to exist anymore. And eventually, I've even had an interview recently that was with an AI bot. It was not a person, and
That,
it transcribed the interview while I was asked, scripted questions. My
yeah.
answers were recorded and they popped up in the chat window. It was a little weird, to be
Wow.
honest. I should have known that going in. That was weird.
Oh, that would freak me out too. That
Yeah.
we have gotten, and I think it speaks to what you're saying. The entry filter might be: does the person answer these questions enough to take it to the next level, which could be obviously a human? So, I mean, I do think that monotonous, time consuming tasks, but we'll always be creative, we'll always be innovative, we'll always be learning and applying the learning with a little accelerated so we can get more out of our job. Because I do think it gets down to, are you creating? Are you creating? Or are you just consuming monotonous things? So I do think it's going to be positive, but that's my opinion. But thanks for sharing that. So as we wind down, tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you. And then I want to ask you one final question.
Why would they want to get a hold of me?
Well, maybe Dabo wants to
if,
reach
if
out for
ever,
offensive suggestions.
if they need their computers to run better within the stadium, uh, yeah, so my email is cu stew, and that is Clemson University stew at Gmail. So
Oh,
it's cu stew. It's been that for a long time. For a long time, I had the email. I've somehow lost it. Can't get it back. That was sixth stew. Like I was sixth child. So even
oh,
on family videos, there was like there's my brothers, and then there's six stew. So I got to find that and watch that again sometime. But
uh, okay. So, what would be the final? What would you want our viewers to take home? The one thing that you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
there's a lot going on in the world, and finding a way to find peace and calm is such a big part of life and makes such a difference. For me, it's volunteering, and especially I get a double double secret bonus there if I get to volunteer with dogs. So, I volunteer as much as I can, and I try to make a difference. I try to spend as much time with my family, my wife, my daughters, whether they want me to or not. I try. So, yeah, you got to find out what truly makes you happy and what makes a difference in your life and in your heart, and focus on that.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. David, I hope you'll come back because I want to dive into the servant part of your life because I think serving is a special part of the fulfillment we get in life. And
Yes,
sometimes we haven't experienced it enough to know how fulfilling it is. And I would love to get into a little bit more of Mostly Mutts and how you volunteered and what it has meant to you over the years and how we could share that with our community.
for
So
sure.
thank you. Thank you. Go Tigers. Go Hokies. We hope to be watching a better season next year. So thank you for
Yes, we
being
do.
here.